Update 4 on what is now Typhoon Rumbia. The Philippine name was Gorio, becoming a typhoon in the past 12 to 24 hours or so, with winds of 75 miles per hour and a pressure of 974 millibars. Current position 19.8 north, 111.4 degrees east. As of 3 p.m. UTC on July the 1st, the storm's expected to continue northwest, very close to land now, China in particular, where we have a yellow typhoon alert in effect. The bits that are highlighted are where the heaviest of the rains will fall, and we have Signal 3 warnings in effect for Hong Kong and Macau at the moment, off the Chinese coast there as well. And the rainfall from the storm will probably be the biggest threat, but of course now we have the winds with it as well. 75 mile per hour winds, gust will of course be higher, so it's certainly going to be a bit of an issue in China at the moment. Emergency preparedness is of course in place, and those in the path of the storm should be prepared for a typhoon, obviously, because it is a Category 1 storm now on the Saffir-Simpson hurricane scale, and waters are very favourable. So the storm doesn't have much left to go until it reaches land. It will probably strike at typhoon strength, Category 1 typhoon, minimal albeit, but still a typhoon nonetheless. And here's the latest satellite imagery of it moving towards the island of Hainan there in China. You can see a bit of an eye forming just in that in the middle of that loop there. You can see it a little bit on the infrared imagery here as well. A bit of the eye, dark little spot in the middle of that storm there as it moves towards the northwest, and that's expected to fade obviously as it moves over land. Land interaction possibly having a bit of an effect on the storm already, but it will still be a strong tropical storm as it moves into the Chinese mainland, and it will eventually start to weaken and then eventually dissipate in about a day or two's time, but certainly not a quick dissipation. It will be fairly moderately a moderate speed dissipation, and that means there'll be plenty of time for rainfall and possibly flooding in China in particular in the next day or two. Looking at the world tropics then, there are still 2 storms out there at the moment. Tropical storm Delilah in the eastern Pacific, which we did an update on an hour or two ago, and Typhoon Rumbia of course, which is the one here moving into China as a Category 1 typhoon. No other systems active at the moment, which is obviously a good thing. Looking at the Pacific Ocean, here's the current situation. 2 tropical storms at either end of the Pacific. Delilah there near the Mexican coastline, and of course Rumbia, Philippine name Gorio, even though it's moved away from the Philippines now, moving towards the northwest into China at the moment. Looking at 2013 compared then for the Western Pacific, the typhoon is the first one of the year so far. 2010 is in 69th place. That's the least active typhoon season on record, with 7 typhoons and 14 tropical storms. I'm sure 2013 will beat that. Currently already with 5 tropical storms and 1 typhoon, with still the whole season to go yet. And don't forget, you can track this storm and indeed any others, Delilah included, on the website force13.com/storm tracking. Will take you straight to the storm tracking page, and there you have you're presented with an overview with the current situation, tropical storms, and any warnings that are in effect at a glance, and then you can go in depth basin by basin to see what's going on, storm tracking maps, and indeed any warning information as that becomes relevant. And indeed it is relevant at the moment with the typhoon warnings in place and the Signal 3 wind warnings in effect for Hong Kong and Macau as well. So that's the current situation here with Tropical Storm Rumbia. There'll be a more in-depth update in the Tropical Weather Bulletin later on this evening at around midnight UTC.